Guys, and welcome to another David ZIMALETA. In today's video, it's going to be pretty much a podcast. It's currently kind of late right now, and I decided to make a video for you guys anyways. So instead of just showing you guys a dark screen, why not just turn this into a podcast in my studio, and you maybe could enjoy watching something in the left monitor, you know, something else that I maybe recorded, you know, for you guys, if I have that. But anyways, let's go ahead and begin. The topic of today's video will be Expedite company, and I know I have talked about previously, like 5 months ago, I've talked about starting my own expediting company and basically starting my own logistics company, and I also talked about starting my own courier company. Basic logistics company, I guess it's all the same, but a courier company is something local, and an expedite, that is if you're doing business kind of like hot shots all over the country and working with like you know, different load boards and stuff like that, and a lot of times you know, companies and whatnot and what have you. Last night I was driving, got a load like at 10 o'clock at night, and I needed to deliver 300 miles away, and you know, totally with the pickup and everything, I drove about 420 you know, miles. Why is it important? Well, I was driving completely at night, and I started really brainstorming really hard, and just blowing my mind with all this. And you know, I was driving. I wanted to kind of make a video, but I didn't want it to be noisy and stuff like that, so I didn't. And I decided to kind of think things through when it comes to Expedite and you know, any other business like real estate investing. Especially, I was actually looking at both of these businesses as a future for myself, and looks like it is going to be both of them in my future. I think it's really important to procrastinate, as funny as it sounds, when you're not ready to do the business yet, because it is much better to procrastinate a little bit and brainstorm a little bit. These two things are kind of different. Procrastinating, it means that you're not going to start it right away, especially if you're not ready. Your mind is not right, you know, for it yet. You need to think it through. So what I was doing yesterday was not procrastinating, but I was looking at all the facts and everything that I know about the expedite type of business, including whether I want to actually do it or not and stuff like that. If you guys are watching me for the first time, you guys you know, probably don't know, but I'm an expedite business, and I basically do deliveries. I actually don't load myself just yet, but we will be talking about that in this video. So I've been doing this for 12 years, and I've been basically getting loaded and just you know, making deliveries and stuff just myself. And also a while back in 2009 and 2010, I had my own drivers. I just had a very small fleet of 3 vans. We had a 2002 van, 2007 Sprinter, and a 2003, I believe, Chevy Express van. So that being said, we're not going to get into much into that. We're just going to go ahead and you know, take this as a sign of experience, you know, what I had before and stuff like that, to understand kind of like where I'm coming from and why am I thinking the way that I'm thinking. So each time I was thinking about starting my own fleet up again, I already know what challenges you know, come with that, and what expenses, particularly both of those actually challenges and expenses are very important, because it, you know, in business, it's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. And also, if you're spending too much time on your business, you have to ask yourself, is this really worth your time? And I know for some of you guys that's doing this expediting thing, you probably thought about, you know, starting your own company, maybe loading yourself and stuff like that. And if you've been kind of like just could not make this decision for yourself because it's a little bit difficult and stuff like that, because it is a difficult type of decision. So it is very important to, you know, think of these things and think it through, because once you go to the next step, it's kind of like almost like no going back. It's like you have to stick with it and stuff like that. So, you know, that being said, I've been, you know, really thinking hard, you know, should I start my own expedite company? So when I actually say that, what I mean exactly is just getting my own drivers, which is owner operators. That means Every single driver is a contractor of mine, and they own their own vans. So what I would actually own is my own authority and motor carrier number, which is MCDOT. And of course, I would have to pay for the load board, and I have to actually pay to use the load board, like a setup fee and everything, which is very expensive. And have a contract for like 3 years if I actually decide to do this and stick with it. So one of the things I could tell you is this, guys. Man, like, there's so many ways of looking at it when it comes from like making money in this business. If you're like a driver, you make a set amount of dollars and you have a set of responsibilities. And if you're like an owner operator, well, you have, same responsibilities, but now, it's like you're in business for yourself. Now you got expenses, and those expenses are different for everybody. So this is something we do want to touch up on in this podcast. And obviously, if you start a company like a logistics company, now you got a different set of responsibilities. I know a lot of times, I'll mention just for fun, because I mean, literally, it's almost like that. Like I say, like, a lot of these logistics company, they're giving us loads, and they're, wearing boxers or like pajamas or something. The reason I say that is because you literally could just get up in the morning, grab a coffee, and nobody's seeing you, and you just get up, get behind a computer and start making calls and start booking loads. Like, nobody's getting in your business, you know what I mean? So you could definitely do it from home. But the biggest downside of that is, and the hardship when it comes to doing your own logistics company, guys, it's like a 24/7 business. And, when you're working for a company, especially for a small company, the one I work for, it's a family-owned business. They try very hard to keep everybody loaded and stuff, and it's actually stressful at times. Plus, they're losing sleep over and stuff like that. So to say that they're not working hard enough, it's an understatement. They're working overtime. So this is one of the things that kept me from going forward and actually starting my own Expedite company, because in a way you become a slave to your job and to your employees, or rather contractors, because you are responsible for their livelihood and for them to get all the loads. On top of that, you are responsible for all the overhead, and this is to pay each driver and make sure that they could actually stay in business and stuff like that. Lastly, well, not lastly, but another very, very important thing is, of course, some companies, they're paying out of their pocket, to drivers. And when I say some companies, I'm going to say most companies. And that means you actually have to, either borrow money from the bank, or you have to have cash aside. And you can actually use up all the cash resources and completely go out of business. So that is kind of risky to use your own money. So what a lot of people end up doing is they end up getting factoring companies. And these factoring companies, they take about, 3% of each load. And, you could go ahead and send it in, and maybe like a day or two, you get your money and you pay your drivers. Now, when you kind of look at all these type of things, I've kind of did like a little math for a very small company between, 15 and 20 vans. In the amount of business that they're going to be doing, they're going to lose approximately $68,000 to $70,000 a year just in those interest, fees alone, to get the money sooner. So if somebody, of course, has their own money aside, they're going to say, okay, I could save that money, I could pocket that money for myself, so I could be making an extra $68,000 to $70,000 a year. But at the same time, when you're just starting out, it might be just a good idea just to use factoring companies until you build some, like some resources, so you could start, paying drivers out of your pocket, and maybe saving those percentages and stuff like that. But here's where a problem comes in with that. Factoring companies, they pay only if you're doing loads for certain companies. For some companies, they're not going to pay. So if you don't know that, you book that load, now you're responsible to pay the driver out of your own pocket, and the factoring company is not going to pay you. So that's actually always a possibility. And the reason that they don't pay, for those companies is because those companies are very difficult to get money from and stuff like that. Of course, in that case, if that company has, something like bond insurance, a bond insurance would help you get that money back. You could actually contact the bond company and say, hey, this company did not pay me, and they owe me X amount of money. Then the bond company, they'll probably research this thing, and if that's the case, they're going to pay you the money, and then the bond company is going to contact the logistics company or warehouse, whoever loaded you, and they're going to say, listen, you owe us, X amount of dollars because we paid that for you. Because a bond is sort of like an insurance for company, you have to pay it back. It's not like it's an insurance. I mean, it's really like a loan, if you really think about it. You're paying every single month for having the ability to have access to bond insurance, for yourself, which is, it's kind of like one of those things. So that being said, guys, I've been thinking about these things, whether I actually want to, start my expediting company or not. And this is just, I guess, some of these things I wanted to point out. Like if you're thinking, why can't I just go ahead and make up my mind and go ahead and start into expediting, doing expediting business? This is why. It's got a lot of nuances. So this podcast basically came to an end, but a little spoiler alert, in the next video or the one to come after that, I'm going to talk about that I actually did make a decision to go ahead and go through with it and actually do open up my own expediting company. And I'm going to talk about what it's going to take to actually open that up. And also in a video to come, either next or the one after that, just stay on the lookout for this podcast. I'm going to be talking about the differences between being an owner operator and just working for somebody as a driver, because those things are very important to look at as well. And we're also going to do a comparison with some other businesses that I've been thinking about doing, and and you'll be surprised how close the numbers are, to those businesses and stuff like that. So I'll still be doing them, but it's like one of those things. It's like a puzzle. You need a certain puzzle to fit it in there to go to the next step. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really do appreciate it. And please hit a like if you liked it. If you're driving right now listening to this, put in the comments below and let me know how you're doing. And if you're driving right now, guys, my prayers are with you. Stay safe on the road. Good luck and God bless you. Join me for the next podcast. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already. Take care, you guys. God bless you. Bye.